Here's another video request. This one's from Bryce No. I guess he's into like the cosmos and stuff. Video request. Hi Kyle, how's it going? I was wondering if you can make a video about how America lost its exploratory compass after we stopped going to the moon, and your thoughts about humans going to Mars by the 2030s. Yeah, didn't like one of the presidents say that they thought we should go to the Mars by the 2030s, which is in like only in 20 years. There's some that's not gonna happen. But I don't know, maybe. So why did we lose our exploratory compass after we went to the moon? Well, I think the space exploration and going to the moon was kind of premature. It happened before we were ready for it. We went to the moon to kind of prove to everybody we could do it, and to prove to ourselves that we could do anything and we could do it. And then we went a few times and we just didn't go back. There was no real actual reason to go back to the moon. Other than, I guess, there's that moon dust. It's hydrogen dust that if you can fill up a cargo bay of the space shuttle would be enough to like fuel America or something for like a day or something like that. Or it's, you know, if we could transport it back, it would be a great source of energy. But the fact of the matter is that, you know, we don't have the means to be hauling all of that back. It'd be more expensive to go get it from the moon and then bring it back. With the technology we have now, it would only really make sense if we could build a space elevator first, which is a big anchor way out in space that keeps it tight from the centrifugal force of the Earth, and then you can just literally an elevator up to space. In that case, it would be great to use that moon dust, but there's all sorts of other reasons, other theories. Don't forget, there's aliens here. There's extraterrestrials flying all over the Earth, checking us out. And the moon is a base for a lot of these aliens. When the astronauts flew around the moon, on the dark side of the moon, they saw like lit up cities. When they were on the moon, they saw there's an obelisk on the moon. You should check it out. You should Google or YouTube. Buzz Aldrin talks about a spire. He's on a talk show, and he's saying that there's a giant spire on the moon. And he's like, who made it? I don't know. God made it, but yeah, aliens made it. And then there's rumors that they found a spaceship with dead alien bodies in there, and that there's like skeletons to buildings up there, and the astronauts saw all sort of stuff. The astronauts are big believers in aliens. Edgar Mitchell, I saw a press conference where he got up and said, hey, you guys, there's aliens here. They're here watching us. And he said Werner von Braun, who was the Nazi they brought over to do the space program in the 60s, told him that he saw the Roswell UFO. So I think the best thing we should do to focus on about whole space exploration is to just, instead of go there, you know, strapped to the back of a rocket, where we're blowing these huge holes in the ozone layer, that we should just figure out a way to use the extraterrestrial technology, because we don't want to destroy our ozone. You know, we should use our technology for absolute minimum, just to, you know, unmanned little rockets up there, or just people up there to make sure that the satellites stay functioning, and that's it. None of this going to the moon or going to the Mars. I heard that we didn't go back to the moon because our government was told that we're not allowed back. That they're saying, okay, you guys went once, good for you, but you can't come back until you figure out your whole you get your own house in order. And so we've been banned, and I think that makes sense. The whole motivation for the Project Gemini and all those man-made space flights and the rockets and stuff was part of the Cold War, to be able to build a new, better rockets that could, so that we could win the Cold War against the Russians. We had, 30,000 MX missiles with nuclear warheads on them in America in the height of the Cold War in the 80s, and Russia did too. We finally dismantled them. And so we needed to get really good at making really good rockets, and that's why we had a education system that stressed mathematics way too much, and so once the Cold War was over, that whole incentive of all of those rockets and everything and going to space went away too. The reasoning that we could use technology from space to build things now, I don't think we need it so much anymore. You know, that helps for some things, but there's plenty of other innovations we can do now. We don't need to go to space, like, you know, free energy type stuff, figuring out how to grow plants really well, fixing our economics, political system, religious ideas. There's all that work that people should focus on and stress and reward people for going after, rather than shooting up into space. Because it's kind of like Dorothy in Oz. You know, she wanted, in the movie Wizard of Oz, she wanted to go back to Kansas the whole time, and she was wearing these red ruby slippers the whole time, and all she had to do from the beginning was click her red ruby slippers together 3 times and say, I want to go back home, I want to go back home, and I want to go back home. And it's kind of like us. All we have to do is say, we want the aliens to land and give us their technology. We want the aliens to land and give us their technology. We would like the aliens to land us, give us their technology, and then we'd get it. But in order to do that, we have to do all sorts of, we have to conquer a whole bunch of other demons within our own world. We have to learn how to communicate with each other. We have to stop being so angry with each other. We have to trust each other more, and come to an agreement about create one world religion, and an agreement about what's real and what's not. Believe in the finer, best truths of all the religions, and throw away all of the closed-minded, dogmatic aspects of all of them, and get along. So we stop spending so much money on defense. We spend 20% of our budget on defense. That's one reason we can't go to space. We don't have the money left. We're spending all our money on defense, like a crackhead would spend all his money on crack. We're addicted to it. We can't get out of that system. It's all ingrained. The whole structure is stronger than our politicians. They're all too much of our. We spend too much money. About too much of our economy is based on it. It's kind of like a Rottweiler, when he grabs onto somebody's hand, sometimes a Rottweiler can't even let go if he wants to, because he's got that lockjaw on. We've got lockjaw on defense spending. We spend more money than the following 26 countries combined, and 25 of them are our allies. We have like 160,000 or something. No, we have 160 bases all over the world, with like that many soldiers. Or more than that. I don't know how many soldiers, 500,000 or something? Way too many. We had 40,000 in South Korea when I was there. I think it's only 30,000 now. It was like 40,000 in Germany. And why Germany? They're our friends. Craziness. So anyways, yeah, if I had anything to say about it, I wouldn't support that. If you like space and you like you're interested in all that kind of stuff, we have enough technology now to figure that stuff out. Make a website learn really good computer programming and make a 3-dimensional website of the structure of our galaxy. That would be really cool. I'm surprised nobody has made that yet. I'd love to see that website. With all the pictures of all the stars and stuff. I think building another telescope would be the best thing we could do. A replacement for the Hubble up there, and take deeper pictures and find more and more planets and that kind of stuff is cool. But to actually fly to Mars, see, the thing about going to Mars is that's part of a bigger mission, So we shouldn't do it before we're ready to just do the whole thing, which it would be crazy expensive, insanely expensive, way more than we could afford now, but we could afford it later, especially if we have the help from the extraterrestrials. Extraterrestrials use a much better technology to fly around space. They use anti-gravity, They have these little they're little spaceships. They have this element called element 118, which we don't have on the Earth, but they mine it off other planets, and maybe you could even artificially build it. But it's super heavy, and they have these discs inside that spin around their spaceship, which spin around so fast that it creates this torsion field. The momentum that it creates as it spins around actually pulls you away from the Earth. It makes you float. It gives you anti-gravity. You know how spinning around a lot creates a force that goes out. That's why when you spin a bicycle wheel around really fast, it's hard to turn it, because all of the, and that's why riding a bicycle, you can ride a bicycle and not fall over, even though you're only balancing on like tires this thick. It's because that torsion field, that all of that momentum is creating this, this outward momentum is making it strong and rigid. Well, if you do that fast enough, it's gonna be so strong and rigid it'll take you right off the planet. So, once we build some of those, and I'm sure we have some of that technology already, because it's pretty simple technology. But yeah, once you have that, and that combined with free energy and then really strong computers that can actually teleport you other places, the aliens can teach us all this stuff. But the whole teleportation thing, the only way we can really use those kinds of machines and these spaceships that are so smart that they're practically alive is if we had a religion, if our mind could conceptualize what you need to conceptualize to be able to fly around the universe. You'd have to conceptualize an infinite, giant universe, lots of different kinds of life forms, reincarnation, eternal life for your soul, and get rid of all of this little small-minded, like God's this angry white bearded man up in space and all this kind of stuff. You have to understand it to be able to do that kind of traveling. But the more simple traveling, where you could just, with the spaceships, just fly off of this planet and fly over to Mars, you could do it with those anti-gravity spaceships, the flying saucers. But, so we should just wait until the aliens give us their technology and give us their free energy, or figure out the free energy ourselves, and which we're pretty close to. So that's not even necessary, and we could even figure out the anti-gravity ourselves. But with the help of the aliens, I mean, there's a story. There's this guy Edward Corso who is a kind of a whistleblower for the Roswell, and he says that Roswell crash, we learned a lot of stuff from it, from Kevlar vests to digital computers to fiber optic wires, all sorts of stuff. So it would basically be going down the same road, learning lessons from aliens. Good aliens offered to give us lessons, the Venusians, to Eisenhower back in the 60s when he disappeared for 3 days playing golf in Florida. But we turned him down because they wanted to, like he said, we weren't ready to know all the wacky stuff they had to teach us. And then right after that, the gray aliens came and made another deal. If they got to abduct a bunch of us to make a new race, then they would teach us stuff. And so we took their deal, and we learned, got some of their technology that way. But yeah, once we all create world peace and invite the aliens down and acknowledge that they're here, because we're all on this like mass hypnosis where even if it's so obvious in front of us, we refuse to admit that it's true. We think we know better than to open our minds. And there's so much proof, all the YouTube videos of the aliens, all the people, the astronauts who say they've seen stuff, and all of the stories of abductees, and all of the ancient legends and the monuments that only aliens could build, all this kind of stuff. It's obvious, but people choose to ignore it, choose to deny it, Whenever somebody gets a terminal illness, the first thing they do is deny, So we have to get past the denial stage, and then once we believe, then we can invite them down. They can come down, and then they'll give us the technology. And then, now would that happen by the 2030s? Yeah, I think it'll happen probably a little bit after the 2030s. By the 2030s, it'll be really it will be obvious to pretty much most people that that's the direction we're going, that the aliens are here, and that all we need to do is wait a little bit more years for everybody in the world to realize, because it takes longer for the less educated countries to come to terms with it. But a lot of those less educated countries will come to terms with it just as soon as other countries do, you know, because they kind of basically believe what they're told, and yeah. So by the 2040s, we'll be able to, you know, like maybe the 2030s, the whole thing about the aliens being here will basically be like how marijuana legalization is now. You know, now it's legal in enough places where the ball is already rolling, and all we need to do is wait another 10 years, and it'll be legal all over the world. So by 2040s, 2050s, we could be landing people there. But one thing we need to remember about going to Mars is that Mars is half the size of the Earth. It has about half the gravitational field, and they also have a different atmosphere with the different kinds of UV rays and stuff. So when we go to Mars, we can't live there. We can only go to Mars to visit. We will terraform it and create a new human race living there, which will come out of humans. But when they go there, they'll have to stay there. You know, they could come to Earth maybe to visit and stuff, but once you go to Mars, you're a Martian. You know, and you have your children, and your children will be Martians. Your children won't be Earthlings, because humans will have to adapt. They'll have to, you know, change the DNA, which happens a lot faster than people realize. People think that it takes like, you know, hundreds of thousands of years for species to mutate, and it takes a lot less than that. You can mutate species, you know, in like 100 years. You know, it'll take more than 100 years for humans to adapt to Mars, but you know, after 500 years, humans will be, you know, adapted to Mars, and a Martian won't be able to hang out on the Earth. It'll be too heavy. Martians will be a lot taller than they are here. They'll be a lot less dense. They won't be as strong, but other than that, they'll be humans. You know, we'll be communicating with them. You know, there'll be people. We'll be going there for bits, but by then we'll believe in reincarnation. And you know, if you want to be a Martian, you just die and be reborn as a Martian. You know, kind of like, you know, if you want to have if you're driving around a sports car and you get sick of the sports car and you want to have a 4-wheel drive, you just get rid of the sports car and buy a 4-wheel drive, kind of like that. But yeah, I think it'll take about, once we start, it'll take about 100 years to terraform Mars, to make it where humans can live with the oxygen and everything. Mars already has a little bit of oxygen on there. We have their polar ice caps melt during the day and thaw during the night. You can actually see pictures of them. So there's water on Mars, and we can create water by just, you know, capturing asteroids and throwing the asteroids down there, because most asteroids are mostly water, and then mining it out of the you know, the underground parts of Mars, and then just figuring out how to you know, recycle it really well. You know, treat it a lot more delicately than you would Earth. Mars will always be a lot more delicate than Earth because it has less gravity, and so the atmosphere can fall away from it a lot easier. So, you know, it won't have as many people, but it will be terraformed. And but we're not ready to go to Mars, because it's clear on Mars, once we go there, we'll see that there is an ancient civilization there, over on Cydonia. It's right on the edge of the ancient sea that they have there. If you look at Mars, it has two colors, dark red and light red. Dark red is where the sea was, light red is where the land is. Cydonia is right on the edge of the light red. It was just like most cities are, right on the edge of land on seafront. And that face on Mars is about a half mile out to sea. But all that other stuff, all those other cities, you know, once we go there, we'll see it. So we have to be ready we have to already believe in aliens when we go there, and believe that there's Cydonia is there before we go there, so we don't have the shock and all the cover-ups and all of this and that and the confusion, and which causes hatred and mistrust and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, but I mean, we'll see all that. We'll see all that. Like people my age, people younger than me, we'll see the terraforming of Mars. It'll by the 30s we'll be you know, the educated people will know that the aliens are here. By the 40s, the whole world will know. By the 50s, the aliens will be landing and hanging out with us. By the 60s, they'll be giving us technology, and we'll be going to Mars with their technology and flying around the Earth with their technology and stuff. So in order to get there, we shouldn't worry about trying to fly rockets there. We don't have the money for that. You know how much gas it takes? You know, we don't want to mine more gas for that. We want to mine gas to help create energy to keep us alive and keep us sustained, so that we can create renewable energy and you know, figure out ways to communicate with each other, so that we can be all on the same page and bring up these third world countries. We've got lots of screwball countries, like in Iran. Iran has blocked Facebook and YouTube and Twitter, you know, and North Korea, the people don't know anything there. They're totally confused, and we need to bring these countries up to level, and all the other third world countries, and fix our own political system and economic system before we start thinking about that stuff. We've got enough pictures of the space and all that to keep the geeks happy, I think. And study aliens, man. That's a good way to do it. Ask them, ask channelers. Invite channelers to come down. You know, you don't have to, if you want to talk and know all the secrets of the universe, you don't have to like do scientific studies. Just ask channelers. There's the Bashar, he's the half gray, half human. Go to one of his seminars and ask him a question, and they'll answer. They'll tell you, or the local psychic people. If you look, you shall find. All you have to do is ask for the information, and it will come. Or smoke a bunch of weed and sit back and just ask yourself the questions, and the marijuana will give you the magical psychic powers to just grab truth right out of the sky. Okay, peace out.